Welcome to section 7 of Pose to Pro. In this section we are going to be covering subtitles. We're going to show you how to stylize and design subtitles, why they are becoming more and more important in social media video content today, and how to implement them in your videos. Let's go. Okay guys, welcome back. This is one of my favorite lessons in this entire course, strictly because it's creative. You get to use, Premiere obviously, but you also, I'm going to show you a few different ways to create titles and captions. So you get to use some other programs. But before we get into anything inside of Premiere, I just want to talk a little bit about why captions are important today. So I've picked out this Instagram video from this guy named Lewis Hughes, however you say his last name. But he's a pretty cool guy. He's an author. He's pretty inspirational. He does a lot of stuff. But you might have seen a video like this on Instagram lately where I'll just play it so you can kind of see just a couple seconds of it.
When I think the ego is present, you're unwilling to look for different answers or different solutions because you feel like you already have them. So for me, it was really about, okay, first being aware.
Okay, so what you noticed is obviously we have this video of Lewis being interviewed here, and he has this main caption here called "Don't let this habit control you," and then he has the actual captions right here of everything that he's saying just being presented in text as he's saying it. So one reason why these captions are important, and one reason why you see these videos becoming so popular now is I did a Google search recently, and most people actually scroll through their feed and watch videos silently, meaning they don't turn on the sound, as they're scrolling through their Instagram feeds, their Facebook feeds. So this captioning right here is definitely a way for a person to still watch your video and still get your message. This up here just lets them, is more of an attention grabber, which is a very effective tool. And, the content is also important itself. But this right here, this text, these captions or these subtitles, whatever you want to call them, actually are extremely important now. And it's obviously for people that are hearing impaired. And but more importantly, it's hitting on two modalities, the visual modality and the auditory modality. So you're also seeing what you're hearing. And by seeing the text, you're getting, it's the ideas being reinforced inside of your brain, even subconsciously. So people are likely more to pick up on the actual, the message more so by reading it and hearing it in a couple different ways. So this is extremely effective. So you're seeing videos like this all over the internet. Definitely through social media. Another guy, Gary V, he's doing stuff like this all the time. Let's just do this. Go through this video.
Think about this. You are not willing to take a step backwards, which then affords you the ability to quit your bullshit job or stop doing your bullshit startup and do something else you love or you think you can be good at.
So yeah, so as you can see, he's got his own captioning here. And what's cool about both of these videos is they're stylized. They're kind of branded. Now, Gary is a little all over the place, and which is cool. He kind of, or his team rather, will kind of brand videos differently. Like this greatest skill I learned being in the class clown. It's an interview he did with someone. But, if you're familiar with The Simpsons, Bart Simpson always had to write this stuff on the board of the stuff that he did while he was the class clown. So it's like relative as pop culture. It's relative to this piece of media that he's sharing with you. all these things. So it's good branding, it's good effectiveness just across the board. But back into Premiere, you know, creating these captions can be painstaking. I mean, they are just like, sometimes it can be just a pain in the ass, especially if your video is longer than a minute. For one, you have to have, the video transcribed. Like, you have to have the text actually in a document in some form. And that can just be kind of a pain in the ass. Now, there are a couple ways that you can generate texts and captions for your videos. Actually, if you upload videos to YouTube, YouTube will do its own captioning. It's not 100% accurate, but it'll even let you download the file, fix stuff, and then add a captioning file to videos or existing videos that don't already have captions. So that's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is just go to this website here called, Rev. And, depending on what you want to spend or what kind of money you're working with on your budget for whatever projects, they do transcriptions for $1 per minute, and they guarantee 99% accuracy. I've used this service before. It's good. I would say it's more like 90% accurate. They do a good job, but sometimes they just don't get like specific names right, like people or locations or whatever. So you still have a little bit of editing, but they'll send this to you back in a document, and they guarantee a 12-hour turnaround time. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good service. I would check it out. There's other transcription services out there on the internet. This one's just one that I've used, and they're really cool. So back in Premiere, I've got a couple things going on here. I have a video of this guy, Daniel Scott from Udaya, like an online yoga and wellness company. And I just downloaded this video of him talking about a teacher training, and I wanted to show you guys how to make one of those attention-getting headlines right here, as well as these captions that you see under here. So I'm actually going to play this first few seconds of this video, and then we'll create some of these extra captions for this dialogue here inside of Premiere. So let's play this video.
My name is Daniel Scott with Udaya.com, and this is Real Yoga Talk, a off-the-cuff series designed to drive the global yoga narrative for yogis, for teachers, and beyond, especially beyond.
Okay, so here we have, this guy named Daniel Scott, pretty cool dude. And what we're seeing here is these captions are changing as he goes along. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create probably this next little paragraph right here inside of Premiere. So what these files are like legacy titles, and these are built inside of Premiere itself. Now, depending on your sequence settings, you can go to File, New, Legacy Title, and it will create a title based around this sequence setting. And as you can see here, it's width by 1080, height by 1920. So let's find out, let's hit cancel for a second. Let's just find out what this next line is that he says. Oh, the audio.
Teacher trainings. Big topic right here.
Okay, so teacher trainings, big topic right here. That's his next line. So we want to go to File, New, Legacy Title. And we want to say teacher trainings. Big topic here. Okay, then we can just select all, copy it, hit OK, come in here. This brings up this legacy title creation. We'll grab the text tool. We're going to go down here. We're going to paste what that says. Go ahead and just center this up. And then we're going to do quite a few things here. So first, I'm going to make this font the same as the other ones. It was Gotham Pro. And then it was bold. And then the font color was pure white. And then we're going to add a little drop shadow. Leave it at 50. We're going to center it again. We're going to take the font size down probably to, let's see, 42. Let's just see what that looks like. It's not bad. And then we're going to position it up. Boom. Okay. So let's see what this looks like. So when we create that title, it's going to pop up actually right here in our titles. So that's not bad. But we kind of want to move this somewhere, but we can do that later. So you want to take this, you can then drag it out to your timeline, put it on that layer. You want to start this title right where that first word starts.
Teacher trainings. Big topic right here.
Okay. So big topic right here. And you want to end it where that sentence ends. So actually we're going to go in here and change this big topic right here. Center it up. Cool. So not bad. So yeah, that is essentially how you create a title caption for your video. And we'll do one more just to drive the point home. But as we can see from these that we've already created,
especially beyond.
Takes a little break.
Teacher trainings. Big topic right here.
Okay, cool. And I just realized there is an extra space right here. Okay, cool. And looks good. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this next line.
Let me share with you a little story.
Let me share with you a little story. Okay. So what we can do is to make this a little faster, we can right click this clip, go to reveal in project. It's going to show it here. We can copy that, paste it right in its thing, or right there in that same spot. Hit enter, and then type in, let me share with you a little story here. Copy that text. We're going to move this cursor over that line. We're going to double click this, and we're going to change this text. See if I can make this bigger. We're going to change this text to what he is saying now. So we'll copy that. Let me share with you a little story here. Cool. And then we'll center it up. Not bad. Exit out of that. Drag this over. Put it here.
Here. Let me share with you a little story.
Let me share with you a little story. Okay, so he doesn't say here. Sorry. It's hard to remember sometimes right off the bat. So let me share with you a little story. So get rid of here. Center it up. Boom. Cool. So let's just review that.
Teacher trainings. Big topic right here. Let me share with you a little story.
Okay. And then we just want to make sure that ends right here before the next line. So that's how you create a basic caption inside of Premiere using the legacy title option. Now you can go in, you can obviously change the font. You can change the font style, the sizing, the kerning, the leading. You can change the color of it. You can change the opacity. You can do pretty much anything you want to with it. And then the only thing is, once you do that, it's kind of a pain in the ass to keep going back and forth into each of these to do it over and over again if you want them to all look the same. So I want to show you a way to create titles outside of Premiere using Microsoft Word and Adobe InDesign together. That way you can have full creative control, actually even more control over what these could look like and what they do, and an easier way to do longer form content. So let's do that now. So earlier on, I actually went and I transcribed, the first few sentences of this video. And I have this same video in a 1920 by 1080p sequence. And I've created these captions inside of InDesign and Microsoft Word. So as you can see, they are different, and they have a little black background to help them stand off on the video. But basically, they do the exact same thing. So inside of Microsoft Word, I have this script already cut out, meaning I went in, typed it out, exactly what he said for these first few sentences. Now, the reason why I have these column breaks in here is because when I add a column break to every single spot where I want a new title to be created, once I take this script and I plug it into Adobe InDesign, it will create a new title based on where that column break is. Now I'm going to go through that real quick with you because I know that's a little confusing. So I'm just going to delete a couple of these just to show you how to do this. And we'll just start there. So what I do is I'm always in like Microsoft Word. I'll be in the draft view, and then so I'll come down here and I'll say a few years ago an associate compatriot. Let's say this line. I'll do insert break column break, and that inserts a column break between that line or that word compatriot and someone, because I know this is probably as long as I want that title to be. And then I will literally just highlight this column break, copy it, and then I'll go to the next place I want to create a new title graphic. So someone in the same realm of stuff that I do, that sounds like a good spot. I'll paste one there, aka yoga teaching, call me one time, and we'll do one right there, and then we'll do one right here. So now, just to reiterate, every time there's a column break, when I import this Word document into InDesign, it's going to create a new title based off of these breaks. So what I'll do is I'll save as, I'll do number 2. And I had this saved inside of here, and this 200-hour yoga teacher. But if you were doing a project, you would do it in your graphics. You would do it in captions, subtitles, and you would save it here. So that's where I'm going to save it. Then I would just quit Word. And since I already have this open, I'm going to create a new document. But first I'm going to close this one. So when you open up InDesign, if you've never been in InDesign, you're going to get a screen like this for the first time. This will probably be empty. There will be no previous projects. So you want to go to click New, and you want to go to this Intent and click Digital Publishing. Now this is important. You want to make sure this width and height are the same as your frame size that your video is in. So obviously probably going to be in 1920 by 1080. And then everything else you can leave the same and just hit OK. So you want to grab this title tool once you're inside here. You want to click this space, and you'll see a little cursor depending on how the size of your font. But you'll see the cursor here. Then you want to go to File, Place. And you want to find that Word document that you just saved. So we'll go to Projects 2019, Graphics, Captions, and there it is. Daniel Scott Titles 2 is what we name that. So you go Open. So now, as you see, it imported. There's the first line, there's the second line, there's the third line, and so on. So it's created these titles or these pages that we can then export. But there's a few things we got to do to format them. So first we want to go ahead and just do Command A to select all. And we want to center it on the page itself. Then we want to go up here to Object, and we want to go Text Frame Options. And depending where you want your captions are, or where you want them to be, you want to go down to this Align tab. And I like them on the bottom. So you just hit OK. So select bottom, or you can, if you want in the center, top, whatever. But I like the bottom. Hit OK. So now everything on each page is on the bottom. Then I come over here and do the text. I'll do 65. That's usually a good starting point. I like to use a font sans serif. So like Arial, or actually I use this font called Gotham Pro a lot, and I use bold. So there's that. And then you'll see there's like 1, 2, 3 lines. I only want to use these 2 lines right here. So first I want to bring this down, and then I want to delete this space. So now we have the first line here, and then here we want to go down like that. And then if there's like only 1 line of text, then I just put it on the top. So I'll create that space there. And then like for this one, just want to have that space there. Stuff like this. Now here's like a creative option. I used to create these titles for long sales videos, and I remember the editor, the actual script writer, didn't like these 3 little dots here. In fact, he didn't like any of this like exclamations for different reasons. Like Facebook, if your videos are on Facebook, they don't want to like have any sensationalism at all. So, but there really is no right or wrong here. I put teacher trainings because he kind of does, he says like a woo or something like that between these sentences or between these lines. So, you could make just like a comma here or whatever. You could just do that. But I like the little dots. And so it's really just up to you. So like I'll just keep going through here, kind of make sure these look a little better. Like that's a longer sentence, so I'll probably do that, delete that. That's good. Same realm of stuff I do. I'll probably do that. And then a couple more. Yep. And I'll leave that there. Okay. So now that we have all of these kind of formatted, we could go ahead and export these and just have them on our video. So let's actually do that. So now we can just go to File, Export, and we're going to pick an area to save these. Now I do have these in that same caption subtitles folder, but I'm going to make a subfolder inside of there just to do titles test just for this lesson. But you want to create a folder that these new titles will go in, and then you want to name them something relevant. So this guy's name is Daniel Scott, so I'm going to name these Daniel Scott titles 2 in parentheses because I already made some of these earlier. And they're going to save them as PNGs. So I hit save, and then this dialog or this box, all I want to make sure right here is I want the quality to be high. 300 is good. That's fine. But I do want this transparent background to be checked. That absolutely has to be checked. So then export, and then you'll see InDesign write these pages. And this shouldn't take long because there's only 11. So then we just want to go to our Finder, make sure that these are in the folder that we put them in, which they should be. So graphics, captions, subtitles, titles test, and there they are. And just preview them, and then we can see that each of these are there. So we're going to X out of that, go back into Premiere, and what we want to do is, I'm actually going to label these real quick and turn them off. So what we want to do is import these into our Premiere project. We're going to go to graphics, captions, actually, yeah, let's do captions. And then import these, and they're going to be here. Navigate to the folder, graphics, caption titles, titles test. Just import that whole folder. Boom. Open that. Make sure these guys are in order. Yep. So if you select all, and then you just drag them all down, here they will be in order. Now, for this video, this frame is actually smaller than 1920 by 1080, so that's why you can't see them right now. So what I'll do is just select them all, right click, and then hit scale to frame size, and then they come up. So now, as you can see,
My name is Daniel Scott with YourDiet.com, and this is Real Yoga Talk.
now we can just go in, and if we hit N on our keyboard, it brings up this rolling edit tool. Now we can just slide these to match
A off-the-cuff series
as he
designed
talks.
to drive the global yoga narrative.
And
.com, and this is Real Yoga Talk.
you can see that these titles will line up. And so I'm going to kind of cheat here and go off of these ones I previously made. And let's see, just a few more seconds. Boom. Boom. And I'm going to zoom out. Bring this guy in. Bring these guys over. Boom. Boom. And this last guy should be blank. You're always going to have one blank one after. So yeah, now if we watch this back.
My name is Daniel Scott with YourDiet.com, and this is Real Yoga Talk, a off-the-cuff series designed to drive the global yoga narrative for yogis, for teachers, and beyond, especially beyond.
Okay, so these line up fine. Now, obviously there's a problem. They're not very legible. Now the cool thing about doing this process is with InDesign is now I can go back to InDesign and I can just select all and I can say, well, what would make these more legible? Well, we can go to Window, we go to Types and Tables, we go to Character, then we go to Underline. So it creates an underline with all of them. Then we want to go back to this dialog box and go to Underline Options. And we want to select a text color. And let's just go with yellow for now. So now you want to create the weight of this underline to match your text font size, but you actually want to go 1 point over. So if our text font is 65, we want to go to 66. Now what you'll see what this does is it creates this highlight, but you'll see that it's offset. So we're actually going to select all the text again, come over here to our character, hit Underline Options again, and go to Offset. And offset is going to be negative, and you just want to play around with this number until that highlight is on your text. And I think last time it was around -19 for a 66 point weight. So let's check that. Just hit OK. So boom. Now we have this highlight over all of our text on all of our titles. So I obviously don't want black text with yellow because maybe that's not my brand, or maybe it's too distracting or whatever. So now I can just select all the text and I can do come up here and choose like a white font. And then I can choose the underline color to be, let's say, black. Boom. So now I have all of these titles with white font and black text. And what I like to do is I like to go and make sure there's no weird things like this guy hanging out. And sometimes that's just a space, so I'll just delete it. And then I like to make sure there's no excess on the edges. So like we'll get rid of that guy, this guy here, and this guy, yep. And we'll keep going. Boom. Okay, we're good there. And I think there was a couple up here. And So this one, this one, this guy. Okay, cool. All right, so now they're all looking good. And let's just say I want to change the font too. And let's just go to, I don't know, let's go Times New Roman. So now you could probably do like a serif font, because you do have this highlight around it, and your pixelation's not going to be as bad, because like this text, like this D would be over video, but now that it has this highlight behind it, it's gonna be easier for these pixels and on your eye to actually, what am I trying to say? Like, it's not gonna be as ugly. I really wish I could be smarter and say something more intelligent than what I just did, but it makes sense to me. Since this highlight is here, serif font shouldn't be a problem. But actually, I don't like Times New Roman, and I'm gonna go back to Gotham. So there's that. So now you can do File, Export again, and you can make sure you want to save it. Now this is super important. You want to save them in exactly the same spot you did last time. And just hit save, and they'll say, hey, do you want to replace this? You go, yep. And then this dialog, or this pop-up box will come up again. Make sure it's transparent background, say export. Then you're going to get this warning. Do you want to overwrite this? You want to check apply all and hit yes. So it's going to rewrite these files, and it should only take a second. And then come back to Premiere. Now Premiere might not recognize the update or automatically, but it does. And so now all of these files are updated just like we did. And just to show you one more time of how to like do an update, go back to InDesign, just select all the font again. Let's say we want the font to be this blue. And by the way, blue on like red is the worst for the eyes. It's like just a no-no. So don't ever do that unless you want to drive your viewers crazy. So let's go back to File, Export, do the same thing, make sure it's in the same spot, hit save, place, yes, transparent, yep, export. It's going to ask us again. We say yes, apply to all, lets it rewrite, go back to Premiere. Once they're done, and yep, and then Premiere, then look, it automatically updated them. So boom. So this is a much easier way to update stuff in real time, and have everything be the same versus going in here, double clicking this, changing the font, changing the color, and doing all that. So this will save you so much time, and it actually gives you way more options on the creativity, in my opinion. Now, one thing this is doing is it is creating a PNG image for each title. So it is creating, it is taking up space on these drives. So you do have to be aware of that. Like each one of these PNGs, let's see, is so many kilobytes. But, if you're doing a longer video, then, that stacks up. But to me, it's worth it. Now, this will also take a little bit more render time. But it's such an easier way to create captions that I think this is just the best. So that is a really good way. So if if you're having, or if you just have Premiere, we showed you how to do it this way, which is totally fine. It just takes a little longer, and it might be a little bit more of a headache, and that's okay. But if you have, the Adobe suite, like where you're using Premiere or Photoshop and all of these things, this Microsoft Word to InDesign to Premiere is a really good way to go. And that pretty much completes this lesson, guys. I think this is extremely helpful. If you're going to be sharing a lot of content in the future, for your business or your studio or for your own brand, this is a very good way to capture people's attention by creating this graphic here, and then sharing these captions underneath, because a lot of people are not listening to the audio. They just want to kind of scroll, and then if this is good enough to capture their attention, they'll start to read this as it goes on. And if this is good enough, then they'll play the video and they'll actually hear what you got going on, or they'll listen to your content, and they'll engage with it completely then. So using captions, using subtitles, whatever you want to call them, is extremely important going forward. And yeah. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Like I said, you can email me at william@brooksjamesint.com. You can send me a DM on brooksjamesint on Instagram. Hope you guys found this lesson valuable. I will see you in the next lesson. Peace.